we all trust that, and you'll accept this fragrant point of view. You see, a person's life is written in the words that he paid for. You know that costs us something that's subdued. Forget all you see and hear in the so-called public town. Embrace this life and how you live and what you do. Yeah, treat everybody with the peace you have inside. Do unto others like the good book says to do. Now I had to find several reasons to trust this. So many times I've heard the same lines through and through. You see, you walk down the road many times so blindly. Only thing that matters is the path you choose. A simple man would have got busted. The righteous man would have been accused. Looking down this road forever after. We all got something to lose. Deal me a hand now, Mr. Lucky. A straight of flush or a pair of twos. It really don't matter what I get dealt for this hand, this time. It doesn't really matter if I win or if I lose. Save your opinions for some other time. Didn't really write this song to amuse. Thinking about your life and what you really after. Don't hide yourself behind another excuse. A rich man would have got just what he paid for. The poor would sing a song or two. We're looking down this road forever after. We all got something to lose.
Good evening, Patriots. Can you hear me? Sound check. Outstanding. Okay, that was our theme song from Steve Arvey, Something to Lose. Okay, a couple of announcements before we get started. We finally got our t-shirts done, our new t-shirts, current event t-shirts. And We're going to flash them up here on the screen for you, and you can see what they look like. On the front with the White Hat Media Group logo. Underneath it, My Body, My Choice. And on the back, no vaccines, no DNA collection, no contact tracing, no RFID chips, and no surveillance. Now, we could have added a sixth one, and that was no mask, but I think that's a given for everybody. So we won't be providing any masks with these purchase of these t-shirts. So anyway, that's in our retail store at whitehatsreport.com. Just hit the store, go to the shirts section, the t-shirts section, and this is the My Choice. Okay, the other announcement I have to make is it appears that YouTube is starting to censor everybody. So we have opened up a Vimeo account, and for our subscribers at Patreon, we will be putting our content up on Vimeo. And at this point, since we are being censored, we're being demonetized, and they're shadow banning us, of course. We're going to start migrating over to Vimeo. So probably what will happen, we'll continue to do the lives on YouTube, and that'll give everybody an opportunity to see the live for free. Then once it's over, we will upload it to Vimeo, and our patron subscribers will obviously have access to it for free. Everyone else, if you want to watch the replay, it'll be a nominal fee. There are certain words starting with H that we can't use. There are certain letters and number combinations that we can't use, and some other information that we'd like to put out there, but we're getting censored, and we see this coming. So we're going to just start making the move to Vimeo. So just so everybody knows what's going on. And of course, they'll be commercial free at Vimeo. Some people complain about the ads that run, and sometimes they run ads on our videos and we don't even get paid for them. So this will give you another way to see our videos, and like I say, it'll be a nominal fee for those who didn't see it live and those who are not Patreon subscribers. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you will be able to see that for free with your subscription to Patreon, White Hats Media Group. Okay, we do have a very special guest tonight. Tore Says. You may know her by Tore Says. She is a host on Red State Talk Radio every day of the week from noon to 2 o'clock. She's got a Twitter. She's got a website. She's got a Subscribe Star account. So, Tore, say hello to everybody.
Good evening, everyone, wherever you may be. I saw a couple people from Australia, so good morning to them. Thanks.
Yeah, we've got them from all over. So before we get started, I think most everybody knows who you are, but if you could just give us an introduction, brief as you want, and just give us the information that you want us to have. That way it'll provide a foundation for where we're going to go tonight.
Well, I am a citizen journalist. I've been, people would say journalist since I had, columns in HuffPo and Breitbart way back when. But I consider myself a citizen journalist because even those big block companies never paid me. Because if you have to get paid by an interest, right? Not the people, the interests, right? Then your message is always to satisfy those interests or who fund you. So I do have a radio show on Red State Talk Radio, and I have been a federal, can I say federal? Have to say, I work for people that we now know are part of the deep state as a contractor. So I have, that advantage as well as, my little time traveling tactics. So that's me. I bring facts, and people can do what they want with them.
Okay, very good. You know, I want access to that time travel machine, right?
And those upgrades, they stopped doing those back in the 90s, right? Because it didn't work after 2012. So they didn't crack it, but
Okay, well, maybe there's still hope, right?
who knows?
Okay. So I know one of the people that you came into contact with while you were a contractor was a guy that has the initials JOB. Do you want to talk about him for a little bit?
Yeah, he was my JOB. So yeah, John Owen Brennan. I mean, what's there to say? He's not very smart. He's very well connected, and he's quite a scary person in regards to how firm he is. I got to uh, live him on a more, when you correspond or you communicate or you work with someone often, you get to know them as a person. Everyone needs to remember that people like Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, the Bushes, all of them, right, are actually also have feelings per se, right? They're very cold, but they have feelings for what they care for. Does that make sense?
Of course.
So, and that's the same thing as to how when we watch like like that new film Joker that they put out, you saw how they wanted people to like the Joker. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
wanted to kind of like, oh, I understand him why he's evil. There is always an understanding. So, uh, that's one thing that I do understand. I see it, not understand it, because I don't agree with it. You're either good or you're bad. You can't be bad to everything except for that you like. That's immoral. Yeah, psychopaths. Yeah, psychopaths actually have feelings. So that's what I like to call them, because they see humans that are not of their interest as nothing but commodities. So that's something that I realized in retrospect and toward the end of my tenure.
Okay. Now, um, you have told this story about what was told to the public, related to the public as a hack, but it really wasn't a hack.
Ah, you mean the TAC files? Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
so
yes.
that was a really strange happening. So, uh, almost it's over 10 years ago. I was instructed to go and remove some files to migrate them to another database. So I went with one of those old school hard drives. It was metal with the orange rugged thing, because supposedly if it had, those silicon feet, it wouldn't break. And I migrated a lot of passport and other private information of, people like Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, Oprah. Um, there was stuff on Ellen DeGeneres. I had things from Tom Hanks. I saw everything. Passport data. And not only that, but their travel data, right? And other things. And so I took that and made two copies, two hard drives, but back even in the year from between 2005 and 2010, transferring or loading information onto a hard drive wasn't always, you know, guaranteed, right? Especially when they were bulkier, right? And so I did that. And then, a couple of months later, like way later, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, the State Department was like totally hacked. And it was TAC, and no, it was Stanley Inc. And then these three people from a contractor of tax, right? Because it's always a contractor of a contractor of a contractor. It's like we don't have federal employees, right? They supposedly did it, and one of them commits suicide. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, they didn't hack anything. I took it off there. Shh, no, we're talking about something else. I was like, no, we're talking about what I put on a drive. And it's like, keep your mouth shut. And it's like, all right, how many more years do I got to do that? All right, then. So it was never a hack. I actually removed the files. I was told to remove the files.
Do you know who put them out in the public domain?
Well, they weren't really put out in the public domain.
They just said they were hacked.
Yeah, that's it. It was just BS. They were like, we're trying to figure out who hacked it. And it's like, come on, man. It's like 2008. Are you kidding? Like, what kind of hacking capabilities supposedly were there? And you had to be really specific to get into places, okay, for information like that, and be so selective too. I mean, you either copy stuff or you know where you're going to copy stuff. And the longer you're in the system and you're picking files out, the faster you get caught. Like, it was so stupid that the people believe that.
Okay, so the question I have is, why would the State Department have information on Tom Hanks and Ellen and Oprah? I can
Magic
see,
Johnson,
yeah,
OJ.
I can. I mean, I can understand, Obama and people in the government, but why private citizens?
So what do you mean by private citizens?
Well, were they not private citizens? Or maybe they were affiliated with the government somehow?
Well, look at them now. I mean, back then it wasn't so evident, right? But they
Right.
just, they're part of that conglomerate to hijack everyone's reality and tell them what to think, how to think, where to go, how to look, how to eat. It's all part of it.
Okay. So let's go through that list. If you can talk about this, how do they utilize Oprah?
Okay, so I can't say, right, what I saw, because the one thing that I uphold always is our rights, right? So even if you're, horrific and you're scum like them, you still have rights. So I won't say what I've seen, but what I can say is what we are seeing in the public sphere, right? We've all seen how Oprah with Weinstein was like handing off little girls and aspiring actresses, right? We all see how she was used in the 90s and the early 2000s to promote agendas of the administrations, right? We all see how they amplify messages. So it's all the same thing. She was a very big proponent for everything in Africa. She has
Uh,
a lot of fingers with these NGOs, man, a lot of them.
and so what about Ellen? She was, I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know if did looked into the Las Vegas shooting a few years, 3 years ago, but Ellen was the only one to interview the security guard that supposedly saved the day on the 34th floor. Any insights into that?
Well, Laura Loomer is a very good friend of mine, right? And she covered that in her pajamas, right? And she flew out there and went to a press conference and had them change the timeline on the spot. The whole thing was a sham.
Right.
So, that was all fixed. I mean, these are all pretenders, actors. They're all part of this, well-oiled machine of corruption. And it's not so much, it is a shadow government. It is a global shadow government. And we are simply the pawns. It's only now in the age of information that being ignorant is simply a choice. Okay. And we can see it now. All of these things right now that we are seeing, like, oh my gosh, did that guy just eat somebody? Oh my gosh, why did someone, like the weirdest story I ever covered last year was some guy being pulled over with over 300 penises, human penises in his trunk. And it's like, what? Like, how does that even happen? I bet you it's happened before, but we didn't have the extent of access to communication, right?
Right.
But what they've done after the election of President Trump is deploy something called Operation Gridlock. And we're seeing that. We are so congested with information now, we don't even know where to look.
Yeah. Yes.
We've got, the Project Mockingbird, where they're all saying the same thing. They find the key words together, right? So now we're going to see Stonewall come out and, delays and, this, right? They find these little keywords and all of them say it as a mockingbird. Then you have a lot of independent journalists, and they're independent. It's like a spectrum of truth. It's like nobody can sit in the middle and say black, white, black, white. It's all got to be like shades of gray. It's driving me insane. Even the good guys, the ones that think they're good guys, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Okay. Okay, now before we leave JOB, who does he report to?
See, that's a question I even ask my listeners. I mean, and I tweeted out, I'm like, who is they? Who are the ones that are really in charge? Because there's always a role, kind of like in the mob, right? There was like what, Jimmy Two Fingers, Mr. All Clap Your Knees, right? There's always this structure, right?
Yep.
Brennan is the connections guy that gets things done. He's the corruption whisperer, right? He created Barack Hussein Obama. People need to understand that before Barack Hussein Obama ran, Brennan was his advisor as senator. So he rolled him out. And this was his pet project. And all over the media in 2008, if you go back and look at their reportings, they claim that the only reason he won was because of social media, right? So they deployed their new weapon, this new weapon that I was part of, that they created over the years. It's a reality hacking weapon, but they changed it into internet. It's like interactive internet activities is what it's called, IIA. And that was actually deployed with ShadowNet. And I know I've actually spoken with the guy. I can't wait to meet him in a couple weeks in person too. A former U.S. Army. He was a contractor too, right? That created ShadowNet so that they can deploy it on the internet, right? And this is a weapon that we were using against enemies that they are now and have been using against us.
Uh-huh.
And Bill Binney talked about it too, right? With his software. This is when your government is attacking you, that's a big deal. Especially when they're using weapons that they have deployed against other nations. For me, I find that extremely disheartening because, I mean, let me put it this way. Did you go outside today at all just to get some time? All right. How many people did you see with masks?
I don't recall seeing any.
Oh my gosh. I saw like so many of them.
Did you really?
So many of them. And, and they were trying to mask shame me too. Like, why aren't you wearing them? I can't wait till I created this mask that says forced to wear this because Democrats want to steal the elections on it. So if I go to the doctor, the hospital, I have to wear it, right?
Yeah.
But they were mask shaming me. This is just how nuts people. I saw people wearing masks in their car. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then all these stores have one-way systems and stuff. I went to Whole Foods and they're like, you go one way here, 6 feet. And, I was going to grab a package of chicken yesterday because I went over a friend's house for Memorial Day weekend yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was far from the woman. She parked her cart. So she had it parked right in front of there. And she started tutting in, excuse me. And I was like, she's way over 6 feet away from me. Was she upset that I leaned over her cart? All she did was tut her teeth because she's like, you're going the wrong way. You're not going through the one-way system. Damn, this woman needs institutionalized, environment to function. It's really bad. It's so bad the way it is.
I feel lucky then because I haven't experienced that in the grocery store. Everybody goes wherever they go, and one day I asked one of the people working there. She had a mask on, and I asked her, where something was, and I patted her on the back, and I said, "Thank you very much." She didn't do anything or say anything. I mean, I look at them, the people with the masks, and I smirk. And I shake my head and I just dare them to say something, but none of them have yet. So it's just disgusting to me. It really is. It's just disgusting. But anyway, I know there's a lot of states that have it worse than where we are. And I'm not very happy about how slow things are opening. I mean, I don't think I've had a haircut in 3 months, and I'm not going to wear a mask now to go get a haircut. So I guess I'll just have to wait another month or two till they loosen up the restrictions on that so I can go in and get a haircut. Otherwise, I guess I won't. I just refuse to do it.
Well, the thing is, it's like, this is how we see just how easily convinced people are that they're going to die. And they, if you read the box of these masks, they tell you they do not protect you from viruses. Like, it says it explicitly on the back. Explicitly, it's not like, oh, it might not. It's like it totally does not. And it even says coronavirus. No, it doesn't help you. So then why are we wearing it? And then other people are like, you have to wear it to protect others. Well, you could wear your own. I don't care. My body, my choice. I mean, you want to use it for killing people. Let's use it for killing people on also killing yourself too. I don't want to wear it. My body, my choice. Hey. But it's pretty bizarre. I mean, I've never seen this level of control over a population. It's horrific.
It is. And it's the same thing. It's like the vaccine thing. The parents that want to have their kids vaccinated don't want unvaccinated children around their vaccinated children. It's like, well, why do you get them vaccinated if are they not going to be protected if they're vaccinated? Why do you care if unvaccinated people are around your children if you've got them vaccinated? Same thing with the mask. I mean, how is me wearing a mask going to make your mask more effective? It's not, right? I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. And I don't know. I hope this ends pretty soon because I'm just,
well,
I'm at my wit's end.
Yeah, but you do know, like, if one thing that I want to point out, so much hypocrisy aside from that, CDC's website, the victims supposedly, right? They're only male and female. I thought we had like 31 genders. Where'd that happen? Where'd that go? Suddenly no one's upset about that anymore.
Right.
And it's all rubbish. It's like they make it a problem like later when they don't have a problem to complain about.
Right.
You insulted me. You called me a she. Long hair, boobs, heels, assuming a she. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, I'm a they. She.
Right.
I'm not going to confuse my kid by raising it different. And that's the other thing. Our kids are going to be walking into school next fall so woke. I mean, kids are starting to realize things. I mean, I have a 14-year-old at home and all they do is talk politics now.
Really?
Yeah. And so many of them are like, he's so racist. And they're like, wait a minute, why is he racist? I don't know. And conversations ensue. All of them think it's stupid about the mask. They think it makes no sense. They love the free money that mom and dad got, but it's like, get mom out of the house. We need to socialize. Kids are asking for it, to get out of the house and do things. But they are actually starting to talk politics. It's all over their social media. Like I was watching my daughter going back and forth with like 6, 7 of her friends on some shared chat app, and they were all talking politics. And I was looking at her, I was like, you don't even know what you're talking. But I was like, you know what? She's 14. I don't care. She was saying things, and I was like, that's not correct. She was like, Senator Biden. I was like, he's not. He's former vice president and he thinks he's running for senator. She's like, whatever, mom, just butt out. I'm just, they're all talking and having conversations about these things because even the children are getting to realize that this is all, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. Right. Well, that's good. I mean, I think this is just going to be like everything else that's going to backfire on him. At least I'm hoping so, because I'm concerned with the voting. I'm concerned with the way that's headed with the mail-in ballots. What do you think about that?
Well, so that's what they're trying to do. We all know, and I said this in March, right? When all of this started, first of all, the first week of March, I said, this is kind of behaving like AIDS. Maybe we should look at this guy's research that I work with that saw the relationship between AIDS and malaria. I was kind of hinting. Malaria, and we have drugs for that stuff, and we could take a look. So that was the first week of March. I mean, advantage, I can time travel. But then, I kind of hinted to the fact that this is about impeachment. This is about elections. This is all about elections. They want you to mail in votes, and right now I've got ballots probably sent all over the nation where I lived. I mean, even, my mother, who's currently stuck in Greece, right? She was there when the whole thing came and she was like, I'm not going to ask the State Department to fly me in. I'll just sit here. She got like 4 ballots there. She got one for my daughter, one for me. And they know we live here. I mean, my daughter's enlisted in the U.S. Army. me. Like, why are they sending a ballot out to another country? And it's all the Democrats, of course, right?
Yeah.
They said one for me, one for my dead father, and my mother. And it's like, come on, man, are we being serious? Like, they're all going everywhere. So, my daughter, she's in another state than me. She received ballots there. I got some here. It's like they're banking on this. They are legit banking on this. It was all about the election. It is all about impeachment. They wanted to say that, he was wrong. He didn't move fast enough while, he shut it down, State of the Union, right?
Yep.
We had Pelosi talking about fortune cookies at the end of February in San Francisco and saying you should all be out, don't go home and stuff.
Ice cream. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's what I said to my listeners the day she was there, and I played that clip. I said, remember this clip because it's going to be really important, later. And, all my listeners were like, what are you talking about? She was just saying that fortune cookies are made in America. I said, no, she was telling people that there's nothing wrong. And she was in Chinatown saying, don't be racist against the Chinese.
Right.
And then they're like, he didn't move fast enough. It's like, what? Like I said years ago, even if he cures cancer, they're going to want their cancer back.
Right.
They can never be satisfied because he's there. He's destroying them. He's destroying a global group, right? It's not just local.
Right.
It's global.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Now there's another senator very close to Pelosi in California, and Diane China Girl Feinstein, right? You want to talk about her?
Oh my God. So I actually have an article. The first part is done. I just haven't made it public yet. Like, I published it, but it's not public facing yet because I wanted to put part 2 too. So her career was built on a double murder, right? Complete double murder. And obviously ended on double agent. And what people don't realize is that Pelosi, Feinstein, and all of them had a group. They were together in the 70s. Pelosi got into politics in the 70s. She became Northern California's Democratic chair. And then she went, to the DNC, and then she ran for office. That's how she progressed, right? But let's not forget that Pelosi wanted to showcase her, I would say, her pull. So you saw her go to Tiananmen Square where she supposedly said, I went there and I protested. No, she didn't. She just walked out of the hotel, did it kind of like Ocasio-Cortez. You know how AOC went to like a fence and posed for pictures?
Yeah. On the border.
That's what Pelosi did in China.
Yeah.
And, all the liberals got crazy saying, oh my gosh, she's like so for liberation. And it's like, we just created them like 30 years ago. Why would we destroy them? Right? The state created them. The Communist Party. We did it. We did it.
Yep.
And, people don't want to accept that. They're like, no, the 40s, the 50s, it was all American. No, it wasn't. That was the beginning of their plan to make you slaves again. And, because our Senate had agreed and signed off to send weapons to the nationalist Chinese, right, to fight off the communists. And then Truman embargoed it. And we left them with no weapons. They were waiting for weapons, and we didn't send it to them. And then a year and a half later, we released one ship that we parked, and we gave it to them, right? And they were broken. They were missing screws, like they couldn't do anything. They were doing just fine with their, the reeds and sticks and whatever they had, because we gave them nothing. We created China. We created that power. And so we've been controlling it. And Pelosi wanted a piece of that. That's why she became so powerful. She wanted a piece of it. She showed them she had pull with what she did, right? In China with the Tiananmen Square, working up, conversations and everything.
Right.
And then she got in with the Chinese, and to control Feinstein, which was her area, right? She was the one that recommended that driver to Feinstein, the Chinese spy. So, they all use blackmail against each other. And, I was kind of disappointed that when I asked Matt Whitaker about blackmail, he didn't answer that.
That was, I was going to bring that up. I had a note to bring that up because why didn't he answer that question?
Well,
that was disappointing.
It was, because I was like, do we have anything in place for blackmail? I mean, that's top currency in DC.
Right. Exactly. That's how they do it.
because, you know, obviously the people that we have in any federal position, either elected or appointed, right, are all clowns. And obviously the way we clear them is the wrong way, right? So I was very disappointed because he was like, oh, I don't know, you know, I don't know, we don't. And I was like, well, you know, do you know of any? And he was like, oh, I'm not going to give you a dish. I was like, I don't need you to dish it up. I just want to know if you know anything of that. He's like, no, of course you don't, because we don't have any blackmail protocols in place. That's why you don't. Because if you knew, then you knew all the blackmail I have on them. Because if ever I was called to Congress, oh my gosh, I'd be like, can we talk about this first? Can we talk about that first? You know, I've been talking about Richard Burr. You see how quick that happened?
Yeah.
About it over a year and a half ago. I mean, he was in those Steel Communications. So was Mark Warner, right? All of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I wrote my piece that I said Daniel Jones is in charge, right? Feinstein's little project there that was assigned to her by Obama, right? They were all connected. Like, it's like, I feel sometimes that the conservative media is doing a huge disservice. And we're talking top names in conservative media, or what you would like to call fair media, right? It's a complete disservice. They say nothing. They say absolutely nothing, and they only report what's already out there. What the heck? Like, what happened to investigative journalists?
Right.
What happened? Because you're like, John Solomon broke, you know, this story of this is no, I was glad that he found those cases because I wrote about it a while back, you know, in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's like, good. He did a little bit of digging. He brought it up. You know, why do they have to be told what's right about? Why can't they just do it? Because it's the right thing to do.
Well, I've said this about the media for years, and I think I noticed it, and it probably always was this way, but I noticed it during the OJ trial when they had so many. I was in LA then, and they had so many people that were reporting on it. Every single station in LA, if they weren't on the trial, they were having a panel discussion on it, and they brought all these people in, and they made stars out of them. They made celebrities out of them. And so what was interesting was I noticed that people would listen to only the people that they agreed with their theory or what they were saying. So that's where I noticed that basically what they do is they make celebrities out of these media people. I mean, they pay them multi-million-dollar contracts every year, and all they do is just read from the teleprompter. So basically, I think the media, the journalism, is how you get up the ladder. It's not about investigating or breaking a story. It's about doing what you're told and reporting what somebody tells you to report. So I think a lot to get this story out.
Well, yeah, no, I agree 100%.
I grew up with Walter Cronkite, right? I mean, he was your grandfather, right? I mean, he would never lie to you, and he did. He did, and it's still the same. It's just back then we only had 3 networks. We only had ABC, CBS, and NBC. Right now you've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 mainstream media channels, and it's all personalities. You know what I mean? It's all personalities.
Well, the thing that people don't seem to know is that the majority of the journalists that they see, especially the journalists that have been overseas covering war, have all gone through some shape of intelligence community training. All of them. So, Walter Cronkite, Connie Chung, they were all, they had trained with the CIA. They had 7th floor access, because they were given information that they were supposed to report. They were told this is a leak, call it a leak, right? The leakiest place right now in our government, always has been, is what department? It's the State Department. That's the leakiest place, and everybody hates each other there. They're all like, if they get in there, they want to stay there till they die. Do you know what I mean? And anybody new coming in, threatening their chair, whatever that may be, janitor, administrator, whatever, oh dear, you will get dogpiled like nobody's business, because only entitled people work there. So the State Department is the most corrupt, the most disgusting. I mean, it's not called the Foggy Bottom area for nothing, right?
Didn't Trump call it the deep state? Didn't he?
It
The
is.
deep
It
state
is the
department.
deep state department. Like I just keep saying, like, what is Pompeo doing? He's got to be wearing galoshes as high as Nadler pulls up his pants to
Yeah.
wade through the swamp in there. Like, there is nobody in there it's like nobody knows how to do their job there. I kid you not.
Yeah.
Having worked with people from the international office, and I'm telling you, like, these idiots don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're representing our country in foreign policy. And it's like, yep, kind of worked. It's like throwing pasta on the wall and saying, yep, it sticks. These people are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
They're dumb. And that's the problem.
Okay, Jimmy Carter.
How far back do we want to go on Jimmy Carter? I mean, I wasn't born, but we can tie in Feinstein to Jimmy Carter and Pelosi.
Let's do that.
Okay, so back in the 70s, right, we had like this movement called the People's Temple, run by this nutcase called Jim Jones, not to be confused with General Jones, the other nutcase that's running in DC right now.
Right.
But Jim Jones had this church that started, guess where? Indiana. I'm not even going to delve into the Indiana part. Take that hint as you will. And started opening up a lot of like people's temple places all over California. And so this was a cult, okay? Super cult. Like, we're talking not like, Pastafarian cult. I don't know. Are Pastafarians a cult? Can I say that? Because that's supposedly a religion where you believe that there's a pasta monster. So I should take that back. But, I'm just saying, like, these people were like super cult. So this guy had so many people, and they created this camp right out in Africa somewhere. And what they did was they were employed by the Democrats to knock on doors and make phone calls. So every single Democrat in the 70s, including Jimmy Carter, used them. Henry Kissinger had him for dinner. The mayor of San Francisco, before he was offed, right? And before, Feinstein got the slot, they all had him for dinner. Even Harvey Milk, the first gay, it was like an LGBT kind of, well, there wasn't even a T back then, but whatever. The whole alphabet group of, anything different than what they would say is norm. He came out, first gay man. That was pretty awesome, to be open about it and not worried about it. So that happened in the 70s, and they all met with him. They loved Jim Jones, right? But here's what happened. So it's a cult, right? People were giving up all their property, their money, and everything. So this one, I think he was a congressman or senator, Leo Ryan. Was he a congressman?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Leo Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. He flew out to the compound they had in Africa because he was told by constituents that had family members that went there that it's a cult, that this guy's like raping them. They're just doing stuff. They're just slave labor, basically. They were slave labor, right? But they were slave labor for the Democrats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Slave labor for the Democrats. And so all of them were talking about it, using them and everything, right? All of them. Pelosi, Jimmy Carter to get reelected, to get elected, the whole 9 yards. So this Leo Ryan guy was like, yo, Pelosi, yo, Feinstein. He even asked the San Franciscan, city council, all the advisors, whatever they called them, commissioners, whatever she was called, supervisors. There we go. Will someone come with me? He asked other senators and Congress people, come with me. So we got to go see what it is, because this is harming our constituents, and they're asking. So he flies there, and he had like a delegation of like another, 9 people with him and 3 reporters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they take the tour and everything, and then they leave. And after they leave, they get shot dead, all of them massacred.
Right.
The congressman, the journalists, the whole delegation massacred. And this happened November, I'm going to say like 12th, 13th. It was around there, right? 1978. So this guy, this group of cultists and Jim Jones massacred them. And then they all committed suicide. It was that mass suicide. So Jim Jones and his wife and 909 people, or 919 people, they say, but for the record, they say 909, which is weird. I mean, that number 19, geez, right? Mm-hmm. So they all commit suicide. And then 7 days later, this guy named Dan White, who was part of the San Franciscan, city council, had resigned. Then he was coming. I don't even know the story. That's like so BS because they talk about both sides of their mouth, right? But he was a hardworking guy. They had him in check, and he literally goes to the city council. He supposedly goes there with a gun. He had a list of names, and he was part of the Jim Jones cult too. That's what people don't say. And then he goes into the mayor's office, right? Check this out. This is their story, okay? Now to how BS it is, okay? So he supposedly crawls in from the basement window, sneaks up to the mayor's office, and waits outside the mayor's office while his secretary is like, "You have to wait." So he waits, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes into the mayor's office, shoots him. Secretary hears nothing, right? Okay. And then he goes out through the back door through the mayor's hallway where Pelosi happens to see him, right? She's like, "Hey, where are you going?" He's like, "I'll see you later," and walks off. Now, I want to tell people there's a video I actually uploaded it to my YouTube channel, a video of a historian walking people through the mayor's office and the distance. So Feinstein claims, Feinstein, when she saw him, it was Feinstein, not Pelosi, that saw him in the hallway. She claims that she heard him slam the door of Harvey Milk's office when he went and unloaded a gun on him too, right? And so the distance is like from the entrance of Walmart all the way back to the electronics. Okay, that's a big distance. And I'm just saying that because almost every Walmart has their electronics buried in the back.
Right.
So people can understand the distance. Oh, and around the corner, right? So the historian actually, 40 years later walks you through it and you're like, wait a minute, how'd she hear it from there? Second, Harvey Milk didn't have an office. The historian said it. He didn't have an office. So how did someone slam a door of an office he didn't have?
The mayor didn't have an office?
No, not the mayor. Harvey Milk, who was the gay council guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He was, he was on the council. That's right. Supervisor.
Right. Yeah. He was the number two. And Feinstein said, "Oh, I heard the shot and, I heard his door slam and then shots fired." I'm like, you heard it from the other side of the building around the corner in a very non-acoustic friendly area because it has like an atrium. So it's not like the echo type atrium. Do you know what I mean? There's
right.
If you see the video from the historian, you're just like, oh my gosh, we should go back and charge Feinstein for lying. Because, what did the jury do? First of all, the jury was picked. They weren't allowed to pick anyone that liked gay people or was gay, right? So that was like super racist, like super excluding. Oh no, we're not going to have gay people. Second, it's like, didn't the jury ask questions like, how'd you hear it from there again? Because you were in the back secret hallway that was even further away than the mayor's office is. So, like, how'd you do that? No one asked her questions. So she claimed that she heard it and she heard gunshots and she ran in and stuck her finger in his bullet hole. Where's yeah. And and she was like, oh my gosh. And that's how she made her career. That's how Feinstein became mayor. They all died. She was number 3 in command, kind of like what Pelosi wants to do. And came up on the steps and she was like, oh, and everyone like voted her in because they were scared of her. He had a list to take out everybody. Harvey Milk, the mayor, Feinstein, because it was a Jim Jones directive. And years later, someone interviewed him right before he suicided himself, right? Because he had a whole list. So there he is from the cult with a list, and Feinstein gets away with murder. It's like she knew. There's no way he wouldn't have shot her. She was on the list. She lied, but they already knew he was coming. They knew he was coming because it already was planned. Do you see what I mean? So they knew he was coming. And that's why, here's the kicker. The historian walks you through and tells you that there was no office. Everybody, all 11 supervisors, that includes Feinstein and the Harvey Milk, shared a huge room. There was no office. So how did, it was like a big room with 11 desks. And she even said he was shot at his desk, not his office. Yet, for some reason, Feinstein's testimony talks about an office, the slamming of doors when there were no doors. And she even said there weren't. And, there was a secretary's office further down. So how'd the secretary say we were right outside when she shows you they're down the hallway, buried somewhere? So it all smells. Nothing makes sense. So that's Feinstein in a nutshell, right? Her career was built on double murder.
And this was to what, 10 days, a week, 2 weeks after
10
the
days
Jodes
after, yeah, 10 days after. So first Leo Ryan, the congressman, gets killed. Then all the people in that compound suicide. And then like 10 days later, Dan White goes on a killing spree.
Mm-hmm.
That they knew it. They had the directive. They knew, because the minute they killed themselves and Leo Ryan they got information that they had planned and sent out messages to other operatives to just, activate them and go and kill people. Because even Dan White said, I don't know, they used the Twinkie defense. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. This is the most insane stuff. So this Dan White guy got like 6 years, which is weird, in jail for shooting the mayor and the second in command, right? That made this huge scandal. He got 6 years, but guess how they defended him? They said the reason he lost his mind is because he ate a lot of Twinkies. It's called the Twinkie defense. Look it up.
Oh gosh.
Like, you want to pull your, he didn't have a lot of money, so he ate a lot of junk food. So, he's crazy. So that's why he committed a crime. And it's like, so you're saying that all those people on food stamps right now, or that don't have money, that can only get junk food to eat, because they don't have a lot of money, should all be pardoned for all the crimes they did because they ate Twinkies. Like, are you kidding?
Wow.
I'm serious. That was the defense they had. It was a sham. No one, paid attention. No one listened to. I want to know, like, obviously the jury was a fix, right? Because just being the juror, I'd be like, okay, well, how far down is the hallway? And how did Feinstein run there so quickly where she stuck her finger in his bullet? I'm just thinking about it and I'm like rolling my eyes so hard I could see my brain. Like, I want to know, how these jury people live with themselves after doing that. And Jimmy Carter used all of these, cultists to get elected.
Yeah.
This is what they did. This is how corrupt they are. They use cults. I mean, you see it. Code Pink, the Black Lives Matter. Those are cults. They are. They're just, Antifa. They're insane.
Yep.
They're insane. They're just, it's like they pick the most craziest people and just like put them together with an idea. Yeah, they're all racist. Yep, totally racist. Let's go. And it's like,
and
no.
Pay him $15. Yeah, pay him $15 an hour. Right?
Well, yeah.
Soros, yeah.
And while we're on it, if you, I don't know how if you ever followed me on Twitter, but a while back, I had tweeted when Joe was talking smack, hey, cold case Joe, let's get this going. Let's start talking about Klasutis. And now the president is really on it, because I was like, a couple weeks before he called him cold case Joe, I was like, yo, FBI, I wanted to open up the case. I mean, she kind of fell. Exactly what she fell, hit her head under his desk, died, and suddenly he became NBC and left the Senate all quick. Like, what happened? And now, the president is doing what? He actually retweeted Matt Couch today, who was talking about Lori Klasutis, right? When he was investigating the Seth Rich murder, right? He said that. He was talking about Klasutis because it is a very big deal. That was a very big deal for Florida, and it should be a big deal for everyone. Today, the president tweeted out a blow to her head, body found under his desk, left Congress suddenly, big topic of discussion in Florida, and he's a nut job with bad ratings. Keep digging, use forensic geniuses. It seems like he's going to get what he deserves, and we shouldn't let Feinstein off either, because she's a problem.
Yeah, she's got a lot to answer for China anyway. So I'm hoping that investigation that I've heard Trump's doing on the origins of the virus and some other things related to China, I'm hoping that's going to roll up the lot of them, including her.
Well, I mean, what do you think? Do you think the Chinese released this, honestly?
I don't know. I could go either way, but the thing of it is, I'd like to get to the bottom of it so we could get on with things.
So no, because like I think like like the Chinese were more embarrassed and didn't like um tell people, they try to sweep it in because it's all about honor, right? It's a
Right.
cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. But do you think that the Chinese lab actually released it, or do you think it was the European Council, the global cabal that did it to punish them for signing a deal because the ink wasn't even dry yet on their trade?
Well, I mean, that's what, yeah, I think that's, if you're going to look at it from that standpoint, yeah, I would put my money there with the cabal. I mean, I think the cabal's behind it wherever it started. And the problem is you really can't rely, just like in the United States, you can't rely on the media here. You really can't rely on the media over there either. And that's what's so difficult, trying to sort out what's true and what's not true. But
Yeah.
maybe maybe you've got direct lines to some of that stuff that we don't have.
Well, I've got some information that came out from North Korea. Believe it or not, I have sources in North Korea.
Uh-huh.
And but it was pretty interesting because the going thing is that the Chinese were really battling to fight it, but they believe, so this is like coming from the Korean Peninsula, not just North Korea, but they
Mhm.
believe that the Chinese were tricked to use a vaccine for that virus because they had just inoculated their whole population at the beginning of December for a virus that was similar to this.
Mhm.
And then it was released. So they tried to cover it up, thinking maybe they thought it was the vaccine. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
And they were like, well, why is it only in Wuhan? And then they tried to cover it up. And then the WHO, because that's the thing. Why would the WHO cover for China? I mean, China doesn't pay a lot. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's as if the WHO wanted the virus to spread. So they were behind the spread too, because it doesn't make sense. Oh, they're just covering for China. No, they didn't, cover for China. I think they were behind it, like,
Mhm.
to weaponize it so they can put everyone under control because it was just bizarre. I mean, I feel bad for the Chinese.
Well,
I really
doesn't Soros have some involvement at some lab over in Wuhan?
So does Gates. So does
Okay,
Bezos.
there
So
you
does
go.
Green.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll be glad when this is all over.
Well, we're never going to get to the bottom of it because I don't even think the Chinese know. I
Really?
really don't think. Yeah.
No?
I really think that they have a good idea, but I don't think they actually know. Like, where they know where it came from. They know it was in Wuhan, but like what happened because they were like, no, it was American military. And it's like, and then we're arresting these Harvard doctors that were connected to Wuhan, and then
Right.
the Alabama one and the Arkansas one and the New York one. And I'm like, they know that it was released and they know they had the virus in the lab. But who did it and how did they release it is the question. What,
Mhm.
just open up a vial or throw it out the window? Like, what did they do to release it?
Yeah.
And that is important, the mode of transmission and how they did it. And did it amplify because they were inoculated to help it create all these versions and mutations we've seen? Were they conned into doing it? Because one thing that the media hasn't reported is that their health ministers, they have like a few of them, and they were like executed. So they think that they worked with someone else. So, patient zero is the most important thing.
Right.
We don't know who patient zero is.
Mhm.
So that's the issue. And, now the Democrats and, the cabal in general, the deep state, the global deep state is planning for a reamplification of this to save their elections.
Right. Yep. Yep. Now, you mentioned North Korea. Um, there was a rumor floating around, started, I think, by CNN about a month or so ago, that the fat kid with the bad haircut was dead.
Rocket Man.
Yeah. Any
Well,
any insight into that? Because we heard that the Chinese went in through a tunnel to North Korea and got hammered by the Koreans.
I mean by the Americans. But
Well, okay.
we
But yeah, they tried to go in from China into North Korea, and this was around the same time that they were talking about, the rumor was floating around that, Kim Jong-un was, I don't know, and, he had heart trouble or he had a heart procedure and he hadn't been seen and they thought he was dead and there was speculation he was going to take over and all this other stuff. And then one of our guys told me that, that 800 Chinese were dead because they tried to invade North Korea through one of the tunnels between the two countries and somebody stopped them. So I didn't know if, because, they talked about that. And then supposedly that we see video of Kim Jong-un somewhere. And then that was the end of it. We haven't heard anything since then. Like, okay, this will put that rumor to rest. But I don't know that we can rely on any of that stuff we see anyway.
And the president told us, well, you'll know when you know, right?
Right. Yeah.
He's not even talking about it. Well, I can give you a little bit of hint from what I know. So let's be reasonable first, right, Paladin? So what do we got? We got a guy that's like under 40, right? He's chubby, he's round, but he's the supreme leader of North Korea. He's the only one that eats meat, has Twinkies, PlayStations, and the whatnot, right? Right. He even brings basketball players at his leisure to play for him. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So he's got top-notch doctors looking after him. We got to get over that. Oh, he was untreated. Come on, man. This guy is like checked on all the time because they fan him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They need to keep him in control because it's a bloodline thing, and that's how they control the people. So
Right.
That's a BS story. Now, I hear that there's unification of the Korean Peninsula being discussed.
With the South.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear that whatever we're watching is distractions. So that was actually put into motion in May. I thought we would have heard something. Well, I did, and I'm pretty sure cables dropped too. But like, we're talking like May 15th, 17th, 18th, cable dropped about it, but it hasn't, come out forward. Now, I do hear that Iran, so Iran is upset. Let's put it this way. Because North Korea and Iran had a relationship-ish. So I am of the notion that the missiles that Iran hit its own ship with was in response to them trying to deploy something against North Korea. So I don't know if you heard about that because nobody talked about that either. How Iran had 19 dead. There's that number again, right? Because they shot a missile at their own boat. So, it's on you can look around on YouTube. There's reports from Al Jazeera and all, but nobody talked about it here. Like, because, it would be like, what? Wait a minute. How do you shoot a missile into your own ship and kill 19 people? So the unification is going to be, is being put through underway. And
go ahead.
No, and I heard that's what's happening right now.
And how does China feel about that?
Not happy. Most of their clone factories were in North Korea. That was their spiel there. So they're upset.
Oh, okay. Let's segue to Kentucky.
Okay. On that segue, where do you want to go in Kentucky?
Well, you took some classes in Kentucky, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's talk about that. Whatever you can talk about.
Oh, whoa, well, yeah. I was at the College of Medicine at the University of Kentucky. I was, I still haven't finished it, I guess, because I haven't published yet. But I was getting my PhD in, you would say molecular biology, cancer biology, right? Because it was more cancer focused. But as a student there, I was able to attend, for federal work study. I worked at the CDC. I got fired after 6 months. They didn't want anyone giving an actual report. I studied under one of the world-renowned, the only people on the planet that say they cloned humans. And I learned how to clone people. I went to Craig Venter's lab. He was one of the people that did the Human Genome Project. He's currently being funded by Mobil and Exxon, where he's trying to manipulate a specific bacteria that's responsible for urinary infections, which is called the Mycobacterium genitalium, which, basically causes UTIs. It's one of the most simplest bacterial forms because it's a mycoplasm, which means it doesn't have a cell wall. And he's trying to change its genetic code to spit out fuel. I also worked at the Pace Sewer Lab as, just a couple weeks intern. And, and the reason I did that was to do exactly what I used to do for a living, and that's get information and learn.
Okay, so tell us about cloning, human clones.
I don't think anyone's ready for that yet, but let's just say, people should start, kind of examining the option of if there were human clones, do they have rights too? Because that's going to be a big deal soon. People need to think, do clones' lives matter? Right?
Yeah.
And it's important because, I say it and, I say it again and again. Like I remember when I was studying under Dr. Zavos, I was like, isn't it like, why did you use a cow cell? Right? He used like a bovine egg, right? A bovine, cell. He stripped the DNA and then put human DNA and waited for it to get to the 16 stage to say, wow, I created a human. But I asked him and he was like, well, it's really hard to find human cells and such, to be donated. They're expensive because not a lot of people donate their eggs, to just be used and disposed of.
Right.
So, the one thing, and this is where at the CDC, I got in trouble for it, is that they were using porcine cells, right, to cultivate the flu vaccine. And this is in 2008, right? And my report said that if we're using porcine cells, we are at risk of changing our genetic information and being vulnerable to pork or swine-related diseases or zoonotic transfer, right? Because every single vaccine that they've put out there for flus has genetically altered human beings. They've moved our base pairs, they've added new materials, introduced new things to us, and people are just not aware of it. And so in my report, I said that this could make people vulnerable to porcine related,
diseases.
health. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I submitted it. God, I was so proud. Like on Friday when I submitted that, I was like, yo, everybody else is a loser. You guys just copy and pasted last year's, right? And use the stats and numbers. I actually put like a suggestion, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You put your suggestions and your finding, and then you like cite, sources and why. And Monday, I went in and it was like there was a box there, like you see in the movies. And all that box had was like a picture frame of my little girls, my little Doctor Who TARDIS, my dog tag thing, and a little flag, and yep, you're fired. And I'm like, what? I'm like the best. Like what?
Yeah.
And then I found out that, it was because I was too thorough. And then, when the flu season came around and people started to get the pig flu, I was like, told you so, because we knew, because that was the problem that we had the swine flu in the 70s. Remember that?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I played that clip on my show. Like they were talking about the swine flu and how it caused Guillain-Barré syndrome. I mean, they've been changing our DNA forever.
Well, and I get asked that question a lot about clones. And I've done I'm a private investigator and I've done some bodyguard work. And I know that I've done, I've had situations where we use a body double. We don't use a clone.
Clones are for harvest though. So it's like, where do you think Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she has seasonal cancer, doesn't she? Right? Like it's every summer and fall, right? Right before the picture, she's like, oh, I'm sick.
Right.
I'm so sick. And it's like, whoop, it's ready. The clone's ready for harvesting. We need a new organ. It's like, that's what they're used for, actually. It's just organ harvesting.
Okay.
How does George Soros have like, so many heart transplants? How are they alive this long? Blood transfusions, stem cell therapies, you name it, they use them.
Okay. So what you're saying then is they don't actually clone a Hillary Clinton or a Barack Obama or whatever.
Oh, they do now, but they were too old to have it then.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they couldn't have it then. Like you know, don't get it wrong. Like Malia, the kids of the two Obama dudes that were in the White House before, yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
genetically theirs, but they were created, not made in the tummy. This is why we have no pregnancy pictures from, Lamont,
Mike. Yeah. From Mike. Yeah.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Mike. Okay.
yeah. So
Mhm.
like now, newer people, younger people actually do. For now, it's just spare parts, and that's the thing. And people need to question like what the morals are of this, because the professor that I studied under used to be the head of, he has the Andrological Institute in the United States. So he can get a 65-year-old pregnant. Like this guy is the god of fertility. Okay.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
he can get anybody pregnant. Period. And the reason that he does cloning, and he explained it to me just so people understand, right, is that it's not going to be a photocopy of you. Okay. It's going
Uh-huh.
to be a version of you that could have happened while you were being created in the womb. So, like the version of you that came out, Paladin was a male, right? With, I don't know, I'm just hypothetically speaking, that's 6'1". Another
Mhm.
version could have been a female at 4'11", petite, with like, big knockers. You
Right.
don't know. It just so happened God decided this is the crosstalk he wanted, and that's what was created. So what cloning is just recreating that opportunity, and then the millions upon millions of possibilities of what interactions between the DNA could happen were created. But the basis is, no matter what's created, that version of you is perfect for harvesting. So if you need pluripotent cells, stem cells, new eyes, new lips, new kidneys like Hillary needed, new livers, new lungs, new heart, you can harvest that. And, all they have to do is raise them till about toddler age to get like full working organs, not to be too small, right?
Right.
Or, just the cells in utero, to provide pluripotent cells, for neuronal regeneration. Like Joe Biden right now, he can't get access to that.
Oh, really?
Well, he's running for office. He can't get access to it. That's why he's going all nuts. Because they would have given something for those tau protein tangles that he has in his brain right now.
Brain. Right. Right.
You can see he has dementia / Alzheimer's, and that is because the bad thing about it's almost like Kuru when you get blood transfusions from humans. I don't want to say blood transfusions because it's not the right word, and I'm not going to say it right now.
Okay.
Like what I want to say, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, Chrome, Adreno, yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yep.
that causes, rapid fix, but rapid degeneration. And so he can't have access to that, nor can he have access to spare parts. So that's a problem for him. I mean, clones is a big deal, Paladin.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So, all right. So in November, is Joe still going to be around?
You know what? That's a good question. I mean, it depends what we do. What do you think? I mean, I
I'm here. Well, I've heard he's a placeholder. They're going to replace him.
well, he's nuts. He's not going to be able to do. Look, have you noticed that they started to use deep fakes for his videos
Yeah.
that kind of go on repeat?
Yeah.
It's not him. They're doing tests. But he's going to have to debate him.
Right. Yeah. I've heard they're going to dust Hillary off and bring her out. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I've also heard they may be trying to put Elizabeth Warren in there too.
Oh my God.
But they don't want Bernie, right? I mean, Bernie, they don't want Bernie in there. And that's why they've put Biden in, just to be a placeholder until they get to the I mean, we could see, I suppose, we could see a mail-in Democratic uh, convention, couldn't we?
I don't know. I mean, they're banking on doing something really, really, I'm just going to put this out there because this is a very big concern, a concern enough for me to be sending off communications. Hey, so I hear that this is like, we have to be, they're going to pull no stops to get rid of this president.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very big problem. Like the article I wrote about Ronna McDaniel and compromising the RNC server, is a big deal because it's all about his travel, where he's going to be. This is a security risk.
Right.
4th of July, he's supposed to be somewhere, and where he's going, I'm a little bit scared. Because it's territory you don't want to go to, only because they have, deeply embedded UN roots. Like if the UN ever wanted to take over, you know where they'd go? Native American tribes, speaking of land, because they actually have treaties in place where they own them voluntarily. I mean, I wonder if the Native Americans know their chiefs,
No.
stuff like that. That's pretty insane. But so I think they're just banking on being successful in removing the president one way or another. So he is a placeholder.
Okay, so all right, so let's assume that it's Biden. Who do you think he's going to pick for a running mate?
He's going to pick anyone he needs to save, no matter what anybody says, like they're like, oh, Biden's going to go to jail. Yeah, he committed crimes. Quid pro quo right there. Like, and they're not even talking about the real quid pro quo, the one that happened in 2014 with Burisma before his son was appointed. The one where the dude was arrested for money laundering of 35 million in the UK and Ireland. And he and John Kerry were like, all right, well, we'll bail you out. What are you going to do for us? That's how it all started. Nobody's talking about that. It's like, so yeah, criminal, but you can't do it while they're running because then it looks like election meddling.
Right.
So who do they need to protect right now?
Well, I think, it's a long list. That's for sure.
Well, it could be Kiev Klobuchar. Remember that picture of her, McCain, and Lindsey Graham in the Ukraine in December of 2016. Kiev Klobuchar. She's such a clown. And she's like guilty of some really weird stuff. You know, the funny thing about Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, aside from the fact that she's like from Jihadi Central, that her closest, her right-hand person is married to the son of the director of communications for Rothschild. Did you know? And did you know that she has like all these shell companies, and one of these shell companies sits in like some field and got a $10 million Navy federal contract for products that were never met? I'm just saying there's a lot of open investigations on her, and that has to that Navy contract, procurement contract for like parts to her fake company that links back to the Rothschild. That's probably what links her to the Ukraine. I'm thinking that has to do with that M16 detail and deal that shifted with that with the Ukraine with her.
Yeah.
And this is why they're looking into making her his second running, because that'll blow a hole right into everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kiev Klobuchar is one, Sally Gates, Susan Rice, they need lifesavers. So they need super lifesavers, like lifesavers you can see from space, bigger than the Great Wall.
Right.
My God, it's I don't know. June, July, and August are going to be really painful for you and me. Okay.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah. Oh. Okay, let's talk about you have been all over this recently with the server, the IG, and the State Department. And why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I think I've heard you say that you think all of them should be fired. So tell us why.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you something that's super exclusive. I'm supposed to write an article about this. Well, I did actually on loomer.com, right? I wrote it about last year. So First of all, yes, all the IGs should be fired. Anyone that's presidentially appointed should be always fired with a new administration, especially with the last one. But the most key IG that we still haven't fired, that nobody is talking about, is IG Robert Storch. Okay, so Storch is the IG of the NSA. Okay, how big is that? That's a big deal, right?
Right.
Now, what people need to know is that the IG of the NSA was always appointed by the director of the NSA. This way, it would be something that is impartial, right? So now I'm going to take your listeners back in time. We're going to go to September 2016. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In September of 2016, and I think I was the only one calling out Judge Collier for like since 2016, right? In 2017, all I was like doing, Collier, why is she on a bench? Okay, she's one of those FISA judges. FISA ones, right? And you know that there's more than 4, right? Mm-hmm. There's about 99 FISA warrants out there, just so people know.
Do we? Okay? Yeah, let me just interrupt for just a second. I want you to get back on this IG. Do we know, or do you know, any of the other names besides the 4 that have been made public? Or
I know all of them.
Okay.
And this is why it's so horrific. Now, the 4th one that everyone keeps referring to, and the one that I asked Matt Whitaker, which is of interest, to the public, because if there was a FISA warrant out on me or you, nobody cares.
Nobody would care. Right.
Well, when I say 99, we're talking they knew exactly who they needed to go to. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because, anyway, let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
That was General Jones's doing. So this judge in September, it was September 24th, 26th, something like that, of 2016, she had a hearing with Clapper, Lynch, Brennan. There were everybody was there, but Carlin was there, right? Because he was in charge of the NSA, right? In regards to Section 702. Now, what people need to understand what a 702, certification is. I just want you guys to understand it and visualize this, so when you hear it on the news and when people talk about it, that you understand it. So picture all the information right now, like this second, it's like 10:22 p.m. Eastern time, right? So anything that's being said at 10:22 Eastern time on YouTube, over the radio, on your phone, through text, through email, just for that whole minute, picture all of that information being put in like this big basin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in holding for 72 hours. That whole 1 minute is in holding for 72 hours. And then they pull this plug and it all goes away, right? That's the 72-hour limit hold, because it allows the government to say, we hold on to all the information for 72 hours just in case you need a warrant because something came up, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we release all the information, okay? Just so people understand that. So what happened in 2014, okay? 2014, like November, December time, was that the NSA's Section 702, these basins, right, had a sudden filter on them. They were being emptied. There was like a filter system that would knit and pick certain people's communications, like the same certain persons. Let's just pretend, like, I don't know, President Trump from 2014, or General Flynn's, or Tories, or, whoever's, right?
Uh-huh.
And so there they are all this time throughout 2015, where the FISA court is like, what's going on? Why are you not dumping this information? Because reports come out, right? And you need to fix this. This is the judge that Admiral Rogers covered for, saying I went to speak to her. Remember?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So she puts them up against the wall, spanks all of them, and says, wrong, bad boys, bad girls. You need to stop doing this. Okay, says Brennan. Oh, and they start crying, and Clapper's like, oh, it's just an algorithm problem. We'll fix it. She's like, you've got 6 months to fix it. Bad. And then same day, what happens? Carlin resigns, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks later, based on those over collections of the 702s, right? What happened? Boom, she signs the FISA warrant. It's like, are you kidding? You already know that they legally obtained that information. You told them off, and then you go ahead and sign the FISA warrant. Why was she still on a bench?
Mm-hmm.
So why was Rogers trying to cover for her? And then she sat there in 2017 and wrote a love story of, oh, I told them off. And then they said it was a human error. And then they said it was an algorithm and human error. And oh my gosh, and they're so bad. But it was renewed like 3 times. So what the heck? Why are you writing the Dear John letter? And I'm so upset, months down the line when the damage happened.
Was it renewed by her? I mean, did she approve the renewals?
So on some of them, yes.
Yeah.
On some of them, yes. The ones that nobody really cares about. So anyway, fast forward, right? What does Barack Hussein Obama do? Oh no, what do we do? Oh, woe is me. We're gonna lose the elections. He's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. 2 days later, he's like, from now on, with my executive order, I am making the position of the IG of the NSA presidentially appointed. It's like, geez, oh great. Now, what are they gonna do? If you have a politically appointed partisan whatever, Obama lapdog or even Trump lapdog, right? Any president lapdog,
Right.
overseeing the NSA, you're screwed. You're completely screwed. There's no, checks and balances here. So he makes that a presidentially appointed position. And then after Hillary loses the election, 45 days before he's leaving office, on November 30th, what does the idiot do? I'm nominating Robert Storch to be my IG of the NSA. So Obama did that. But because they had already deployed all this Russia with the people from the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, everybody was working together to make sure Trump can't be president, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They left that on the back burner. So Storch, that is now the IG of the NSA, was originally nominated by Barack Hussein Obama. So here's where it gets even more interesting. So after they failed, to put him off, right? To put him as IG of the NSA and failed to delay the inauguration and all the elections, obviously some people came in, right? And this is why I have my reservations about Admiral Rogers, because he endorsed Robert Storch. And he also supposedly ran to Judge Collier and told her about this when she did all that. And it's like, I like you. And this is just like her, maybe it was him covering himself up because he didn't feel right. I'm just saying, there's always redemption, right? I'm totally not knocking that, but this is where I question stuff anyway. So just so you guys know who Robert Storch is, he was a DOJ prosecutor for 24 years. He was the assistant U.S. attorney for over 17 years. Post 9/11, he was the first ever anti-terrorism coordinator. He was the deputy IG of the DOJ. He actually worked with Horowitz. He was Horowitz's second man until he became the IG of the NSA, just so you know. He was also deputy criminal chief of counsel at the United States attorney for Northern District of New York. He was also the Department of Justice resident legal advisor in the Ukraine for 26 months.
Oh, wow.
He was chairman of the Council of Inspectors General and Integrity and Efficiency, get this, whistleblower Ombudsman Working Group. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's just hysterical how the irony of all this, okay?
He sounds like a fixer to me.
Thank you. See, that's it. That's what he is. And here's where the weird part is. So why the heck would President Trump in June of 2017 decide that he's going to nominate him for IG of the NSA? Obviously, because he had snakes next to him, right?
Right.
But here's the weird thing. Did you know that the Ukrainian president, the one that we heard on the leaks talking with Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Offered Storch a job.
Yeah.
He said, hey, we want you to be part of the anti-corruption committee of my party. And they offered this American citizen, the IG of the NSA, external control of the National Corruption Bureau of the Ukraine. What? Why is he the IG of the NSA? That is the booby trap. That is the holdover we need to remove that Obama put there. You see where I'm getting with this?
Yep.
Nobody's paying attention to that. That's the problem. So that's number one. If they remove Storch, it's over. They have no access to wiretaps. How do you think that Adam Schiff had all that access to wiretapping the president? It was from the IG of the NSA
Mm-hmm.
because there was no whistleblower. None. It was a wiretap.
Right.
And I think I was the only one that was saying it until the president confirmed it too, that said there was no whistleblower.
Right.
Period. It was a wiretap. So this was done from the NSA. So that's key. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, now we have the State Department guy, right?
Linick.
What a clown, right?
Yeah.
What a clown. He so stupid. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at my own stuff before I say it. But so Linick is the IG of the State Department, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, once he got fired, it was leaked, get this, that they were investigating Pompeo because
for having one of his people walk his dog and go do something, right? Run errands, right?
Yeah, like a Guy Friday.
Yeah.
Who doesn't do that?
Everybody.
Right. And then we have the other chick that had her staff, jump into a throuple.
Mm-hmm.
And she used her as a sex toy,
Right.
As a throuple. But having a Guy Friday, Gal Friday was a problem. Like, what? So was it demeaning for the intern? I'm confused.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
What? So, but that wasn't the only thing. They also said that they're looking into the $8 billion in arms that we sold to Saudi Arabia to, years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaked, right? But here's the problem. So Rick Grinnell and all of them, or you or me, when we put in for a FOIA, well, Rick Grinnell's different, right? Of course.
Right.
But if you do a FOIA request and you request all communications that Linick had with anyone in the State Department, right? And you request it, you're going to get it. But you're not going to get his secret server because you didn't ask for it.
Right.
And what people don't know, and he gave away, right? Because I was so lucky to find it, and I downloaded it before YouTube gets rid of it, and sent it to friends just in case, I don't know, it disappears from my computer or something. I stuck it on the Chan board too, just in case, to save it somewhere there. He had actually got funded in 2015 to create an independent secret server with a separate email to work as an IG. And so, go on.
So if you did a FOIA request and you specifically cited that, would you get any information from it?
Well, yeah, but then they'd be like, what do you mean secret server?
Well, that's what I mean.
They'd be like, give me the address of the server. It's
okay.
You should have said like, in Hillary's basement in her toilet were the Pakistanis standing outside looking after her.
Right. Okay.
So you'd have to actually get specific. This is how they stonewall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very big deal because he also let it be known. Remember, he was the IG of federal and housing stuff when all that fraud happened with the mortgages, the Freddie Macs, the Fannie.
Oh, in 2008?
Yes, he was the IG. And I'm like, wait. Yeah, but in the appropriations committee, he was like, when I was IG of the federal housing, I was like, great. Now we know where to look for the mortgage fraud. I have a secret server with a separate email. I'm like, yep. All right, let's open up an investigation on that one, please. Check, please. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, because we're still working on that stuff, right? That mortgage fraud, the bailouts, the whole 9 yards that Obama.
Yeah.
So, that's a big deal. And, the White House, unfortunately, you have to imagine that the president is standing and he's surrounded by sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And information that you or I or anybody unearths or wants to say will most likely never get to him unless you make enough noise. And this is why, again, circling back to the Operation Gridlock, they are constantly, shutting us down. And in one way, Paladin, I'm just going to say, it's everybody's fault. Because you know how everybody follows everybody? They're like, follow me back, on Twitter.
Right.
Like, that's the dumbest thing to do. You know that, right? Because you're doing exactly what they want you to do. That's Operation Gridlock.
Right.
Because Paladin, if you're following 10,000 people and you're followed by 10,000 people, let's pretend that 10,000 people you follow. Are you going to see every single person's tweet?
No.
All right.
Well, if I even tried, I would not get to see anything else in a day, right? I mean, there's not enough hours in a day to go through all that.
Right. But if you're following 1,000 people, you might, right? And if you're shadow banning, you're definitely not going to see the stuff Twitter doesn't want you to.
Right.
So the less people you follow, the more you see, even if they're shadow banned.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has joined in, right? Has joined in on their Operation Gridlock by doing the whole follow back movement. Why? Because the patriots supposedly that started it were actually sock puppets of the deep state.
Mm-hmm.
They were put on Twitter to say, "Oh, follow me back. Here's a train." You know that was an operation by the CIA to make you not be able to see the news.
Right. More
That's what happened.
distractions. Yeah.
Right. I know. So, like, you know, we're to blame. Like, so many people were like, "I'm not following you because you're not following me back." I'm like, okay, don't, because I can't follow you because you're not sharing stuff I want to see.
Right.
And maybe you're sharing 2 things, but I follow people that have small accounts, but they're retweeting like 10 other accounts that I want to see. So I pick that account to follow for now because they're retweeting 10 of those people that I want to see. So I don't have to follow them because I don't need it congested. How am I going to see the news? How am I going to see it break?
Right.
So, you know, we're all participating in this Operation Gridlock. So that way, you know, people can't see stuff. Like, you know, I follow 1,000 people and that's a lot. I have to go back down and reduce it because I'm missing things. And it's not because I don't care what people say. It's because I need to see what certain people say. Like, I'm not going to follow Judge Janine. Like, I follow her sometimes and then unfollow her because I could just go to her Twitter because I know it by heart. If I want to see what she has to say, I want to see what the little guys are saying, you know,
right.
The Googers, you know, the Q decoders, you know, those are the people that I want to look at. So, you know, we're all to blame, all of us.
Yeah.
You say it and people hate it. And it's like, well, you know, this is what psyops are, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
They make you think you're doing it yourself and you're just like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, they conned you. You know, they did it, and they're doing it on Facebook too. You know, they're shadow banning the people you need to see. So if you're only following 300 people, you're going to see everybody's stuff, even if they're shadow banned.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal. So yeah, so with the IG of the NSA, you know, we need to get rid of him. IG of the State Department, he's going to be going in front of a hearing soon. So I'm hoping that I could see Ratcliffe strut his stuff in, say, "Hey, boom. You see this server? Oh, this is a treasure trove."
Yeah.
Sources tell me, here's this. Through that server is how he communicated to send over, get this, State Department lawyers to the Foreign Intel and the you know, Select Intel Committee on impeachment. So the State Department was giving Democrats lawyers to impeach the president. All of that is on that server. All of it. And his communications with Atkinson and his communications with Storch and his communications after Obama left the White House. So that's going to be a big deal. So I'm hoping that happens super quick. I don't know.
Are you good with Ratcliffe?
I love Ratcliffe.
Okay.
And you know, Millie Weaver actually interviewed him, and he was like super chill. She said he was very, you know, forthcoming, very kind. I like him. And the fact that he was confirmed at 49-44, right?
I think you're right. Although, 49-42, I thought, but yeah, it's 49 something. Yeah,
it's still
right.
A bad number because it's never gotten into the double digits of the nose. You know, so that means they don't like him. That means we just need to look at all the people that don't like him and say,
right.
Guess we don't need to be in office right now. But you know, some of the 49 hid there too. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay, so where does Grinnell go?
Okay, so Grinnell, you know, I think I said this last week. He's not going to be going to Germany, and that was confirmed today. He's resigned.
Okay, because he as acting ODNI, he was still ambassador to Germany.
Yeah, so his position was there, right?
Okay.
So he resigned from that position in Germany. And it's like, you know, Merkel's obviously super happy about that because he was like the biggest thorn in her behind. Right. You know, and their intel you know, community. I can tell you from my sources in Germany, like they hated him. They were
Okay.
like- and this is their words. Well, they use the F word for gay man, right? You know,
Yeah.
there's one. They were like, this effing gay man, should be a little bit gayer. He's so square. He's not listening. We should all be united under one, blah blah. They hated him.
Mhm.
And that's something that I'm like, yeah, you go, boy. If you can get the Nazis to hate you, that's a good thing. I'm okay with that. I'm totally
Right. Right.
But anyway, people think that he's going to go to the campaign. And he would be great there because then he can kick Karl Rove out. I want to know who put Karl Rove in there.
Oh my gosh. Is that true?
Oh my God, yes, it is.
What
And
is
when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is Twitter playing tricks on me. This is not happening.
Oh, so yeah,
Do you remember Karl Rove from like?
oh, you mentioned earlier about the synchronicity of the mainstream media, how they all say the same thing.
Mhm.
I was told back when Junior was president that every, I don't know, Tuesday or every Wednesday, Karl Rove had a conference with all the media, giving them their talking points for the week.
Really?
That's what I heard, and this was from a media person who was involved with the media at that time. And she was, she left, but she said, yeah, Rove would have a video conference call with, media representatives, and he would basically give them the talking points for the coming week. And there was one time, I'll never forget this, and this was when Obama was president, but I remember going into the the 7-Eleven or whatever, the convenience store to get some candy and gum and cigarettes and, a Red Bull, my health food. And I was standing there in line and I looked at the newspaper rack and they had 5 newspapers there and they all had the same headline. And this was after Obama had made some speech about something, and they all had the same, all 5 of them. It was like a Wall Street Journal and a local paper and a New York Times, and I forget what all they were, but they were 5 different newspapers and they all had the same headline.
Well,
So what you said before is accurate.
Yeah,
That is
no,
accurate.
Yeah, no.
And when I heard that about Rove, because I saw that on your Twitter, I'm thinking, this is the guy that orchestrated, according to this person that was in our group. This is the guy who orchestrated the talking points every week while Bush was president.
Wait, but it gets better than this. So Karl Rove also was the lawyer for Bill Clinton as a rapist, because everyone still thinks Monica Lewinsky was an affair. Like, what kind of mistress is going to hold on to a dress with sperm and say, see,
Right.
here's the proof? It's like, you're supposed to be a mistress. It's supposed to be a secret.
Right.
You don't run to authorities with a dress with sperm. Like, seriously. We all know it was rape, okay?
Yeah.
We all get it because it's like, I'm a woman. So if I was the mistress of the president, I wouldn't be like holding on to dresses with sperm and saying, oh yeah, this is what he did to me with this. It's like so dumb. But so he represented Bill Clinton as a rapist. And here's the weirdest part. So this just happened. So I'm like, what the hell? Who suggested this? Whoever like if I was ever like, hey Tori, you could come on as a consultant, to the Trump campaign, it'd be like, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired.
Mhm.
Who suggested Karl Rove? I did. You're fired.
Yeah.
That's what happened because he was hired by Mark Zuckerberg, right? Last year. Get this.
Mhm.
On a committee, get this, that talks about election integrity. Like, why the hell would you let someone that's on Mark Zuckerberg's, the Android bot Zucker, who did a simulation of cutting his hair on air? Did you see?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
He hired him to look into election integrity. Why would you put him on your campaign? That's just asking for a breach of security. Like, that should have been a red flag for Secret Service to be like, no. Hard no from Secret Service. Thank you. It should have been right then and there. I don't know. I mean, and he's a Bohemian Grove guy. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I wonder, I wonder if Trump brings these people in just to expose them. but I can't
fathom expose now in his campaign. Like, what?
yeah.
Like, I mean, the person that recommended him should be fired. It's
Mhm.
kind of like I said, who told him to say the word flatten the curve? Fire them.
Yeah.
Because the flatten the curve was what the left was saying. They just need, who suggested this guy? Fire them. Who said fire them? Period. Like Ty Cobb. What was McGahn thinking? Hiring Ty Cobb for White House counsel and
Yeah.
pass on Matt Whitaker. Why would you bring Ty Cobb? Are you insane? It's like you were asking to help impeach the president. Like, what's going on? You're fired. That's the way it should be. So, this is a really big deal with the whole election spiel and.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Who's going to get arrested?
So we're talking after Labor Day, right?
Whenever you want.
Well, so they're all going down. I actually had this conversation with my mother too. She was like, he didn't do anything. Everyone's still around. I know Hillary Clinton's corrupt and I don't even follow politics. So they're all going to be done. We've already had arrests. Okay. Rank and file arrests. But this is going to get pretty heated pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, unfortunately, because we have elections, we have to kind of be very careful because we do have a lot of idiots. You see them driving in cars with masks right now as we speak.
Right.
Okay. And they're killing off the elderly population that votes Trump. So we have to be very, very careful how we do this. So after Labor Day, I mean, it's going to be pretty insane because we don't want it to be buried with the elections. We want people to see that they're being held accountable, right?
Right.
So it has to be done after elections, unfortunately, for those nice perp walks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that it would happen March of 2021. And hear me out why. So January 2021, we're going to be having the tribunals for 9/11 finally. I mean, how long has it been? Like 20 years?
20 years, yeah.
Yep. And in the meantime, while they were appointed to actually pick juries and do whatever, all the judges have resigned. Did you notice that?
Yep.
That's really weird. So we're appointing judges at tribunals for Gitmo too. So, this whole Sessions discussion that we're seeing, totally a play. You see it, right? The script.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You see the script, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to say, so that's when we would ideally see it, March 2021, when we have the new judges in the tribunals, elections are over, and they can all go to jail, and everyone could shut up. And even though they're going to be screaming like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, he's a dictator. I can't believe it." It's like Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, he's going to be like, "So, Federal Reserve dead. Let's bring back the gold back currency." And then no matter how much they hate him, they're like, "What? We could go to McDonald's for 15 cents and get a burger?" Yep, totally voting for Trump a third time. So let's give him back that term that he lost the first time around. That's probably what's going to happen.
And it's interesting you mentioned that about Sessions because we heard a few months ago Sessions was down in Gitmo setting everything up for the tribunals.
Well, and then he had like a verbal spat with the president, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but we all know, like a lot of people are like, Barr appointed Durham. And it's like, no, he didn't. I actually broke that story.
Yeah.
It was actually Sessions that did it.
And he appointed Hubert too, didn't he?
Yes. And that's, how you see it? There's an article that I wrote. I think I have it on ToreSays.com. I'm pretty sure. Did I put it on Loomer.com? I'm not sure. But there was a transcript from McCabe being questioned. And, Gowdy was like, yeah, so he was asking him something. He's like, well, right now I'm being questioned by, the prosecutor. He's like, Huber. And he's like, Durham. He's like, you mean Huber? He's like, no, Durham. He's like, Huber. He's like, no, John Durham. That was in 2018.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, so when people are like, Barr appointed him, it's like, losers. No, he didn't.
Right.
Why are you still saying it? Because even when I see people on the right that are verified, like people that think are like, oh, he's a great reporter. he's young and he's a veteran. And it's like, he was a PAO. Do you know what PAO means? That means he was a psyop guy.
Right.
He's totally manipulating the people without knowing. So it's like, no, Sessions did it. Sessions was smart. Sessions was careful, and Sessions was set up. So
Okay.
no.
So all right. So how long is Barr going to be AG?
Till Labor Day.
Okay. And then
Like, I'm saying after Labor Day, he's gone.
Okay. And who's going to take over? Who's going to replace him?
You know, that's a really, really good question. I mean, you know, I wouldn't put Matt Whitaker. After my interview, I wouldn't put him.
Yeah. That was
my interview told me a lot about him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I don't, you know, I interrogated people for a living.
Yep. Me too.
You know, I'm just saying, like, you know, could you tell that I was interrogating totally?
Yeah. And the thing of it was,
right? So good.
He was holding his own until you asked the blackmail question, and then he just fell apart.
Well, he also fell apart before that when I was asking him about the FISA, how I like threw it in. Oh yeah, and then we have the sealed one that's like, you know, buried. And he's like, it's buried for a reason. For real, it is buried. Just confirming again. But there were other things that I drew out, like the DOJ contracts. You know, that's something no one's talking about. You know, how they've been robbing us blind.
Right.
I mean, Trump exposes that, right? And says no more contractors. We're hiring federal people. It's all over for them.
Yeah.
It's all, there's no deep state. That's how they fund themselves.
Yeah.
They line each other's pockets with money because, like I explained, I'm a contractor right now, right? So as a linguist, right, they need an interpreter for Kazakh, right?
Right.
I get a phone call on my phone. I get paid $60 an hour. But then there's a contracting company from some former general or whatever that pays me the $60. But that company gets paid $100 from another company that's a contractor. That is another general who pays them $100 for my $60. So they make $40 off of me. And then that general, because he's like more new or has more friends, has the contract with, I don't know, who did I interpret for? I don't know, State Department, for example, right? And then the State Department pays him $120 for doing absolutely nothing, but just giving the job to his friend contracting company that contracted me. So in the end, we're paying double for an hour of Tory as taxpayers when you only need to pay $60.
Right.
So they do that on everything. Like, you know, kind of like, did you see how I asked Matt Whitaker, why did we spend $40 million with a Canadian company?
To,
Waste
destroy
management. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To destroy files. Yeah. Right.
Like, sounds like paper shredding to me.
Yeah.
Freaking janitors did Mueller need.
Yeah.
And that company's connected with Canadian intelligence. It's like, are we asking to be hacked or foreign influence anyone? Hello. It's like, it's so ridiculous you laugh, but you're like crying while laughing and saying this isn't okay. And you know what President Trump needs to do is, the minute he wins these elections, is fire everybody in the White House and go get old Joe from Iowa that's sitting in Dunkin' Donuts to be your baker. Get, you know,
Right.
Joe, who's great at managing, you know, all the Starbucks of this region, to manage the staff here. Get the HR guy. We don't need these DC elites anymore. Okay. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. I think you can see that too, right?
Yeah. Okay. Christopher Wray.
He needs to go. There's two people in the FBI left that are really, really bad apples. It's Christopher Wray and Cuthbertson. So Cuthbertson is one of the biggest snakes, and he is a VSES, like very SES. Okay. And he's still in the freaking FBI. And nobody talks about him. They're like, yeah, okay. Don't see that name. Yeah, for a reason. Hello. Just like Evanina, like, why would you take him, Grinnell? He's like Cuthbertson's little project. Like, why?
Well, okay, but how long do you think Ray will be there? Actually, I mean, do you think Barr? Same as Barr?
Yeah, I mean, right now, honestly, okay, let's just say it this way: I would love to see Grinnell move into IG of State Department, first of all. So that way he can fire people and do investigations, period. And I would like to see Flynn be interim FBI director, acting FBI director, and then become vice president.
Yeah, I would like to see him as FBI director too.
But just temporarily.
Yeah.
Just
Just long enough
temporarily. Yeah.
clean it up.
Exactly. Take that big
Mhm.
fat room and let it go.
Mhm.
And then become vice president, because Pence is going to get sick or something.
Do you think?
He should.
Okay, so are the rumors about Pence true? Pedophilia?
Sombrero. That's our safe word, by the way, guys.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, Ray needs to go. I mean, don't you think the same about Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I keep I don't know. I'm one of those optimistic guys. I keep hoping. I keep thinking, okay, he's going to do something good. He's going to do something good, and then time's run out. He's had plenty of time to do something good. And I watched his confirmation, and I've watched him be interviewed, and he never has said the right things. And so then he's drug his feet on all this stuff that he should have cleaned up in the FBI. And now, I guess the other day, did he come out and say now he's going to start doing something? I mean, this is just, but why, again, why does Trump put him in there? Who told Trump to put this guy in there? Is my question.
No, he was there before. Okay. Let me tell you something that people don't know about him. So this is something that I'm proposing that the president actually do. And I'm like, dude, totally volunteer to be part of that team. So here's a little tidbit that people didn't know. So, obviously I told you that Brennan was like the Obama whisperer, because Obama is like a petri dish boy. He was actually born in Morocco, even though everyone says Kenya. His mom's name was Stanley Ann. She was a CIA clandestine. She was in Iran with Peter Strzok's dad when they overthrew the Iranian government. Because I'm the one that broke that story about, Peter Strzok being raised in Iran. This is why Peter Strzok is so loved by Brennan. Okay, just so people know, because Peter Strzok wasn't an FBI agent; he was a CIA.
Yeah, he's CIA, right?
Yeah. And I said that, I even wrote it in Big League Politics. I think Patrick Howley wrote it for me because I didn't want to put my name on it, because I still had, there were a few things that I was worried about putting out there with my name on it. Only because people would be like, "That's not the way NDA works," and it's like, you have no idea, because I'm not afforded whistleblower protection. So.
Right.
So anyway, what Obama did was, after he got in 2009, he created this group. It was called the High Value Intelligence Group, the HAG, the HVIG. Now, if you go searching for it online, it's going to give you something called High Value Detainee Group, some BS. It's not true. But if you dig more, I've actually saved 2 articles that talk about it. So here's what happened. In 2009, he created this group. The front-facing members that were finally put into the charter in 2011 or 2010, put into the charter. First of all, he was forced to make a charter. That's number one. Second of all, the names that were on it were Robert Mueller, James Comey, Christopher Wray, H.R. McMaster, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew McCabe, and David Cuthbertson. So who are the 2 clowns left in that group? Now that high value intelligence group was reported directly to the president. It was like his little huddle group, right? Now, this little huddle group was actually exposed by Blair, the former DNI, before. Yeah. And what happened was, he was talking about, some jihadi. He was like, yeah, the Obama's high value intelligence group actually questioned them back in 2009. He said this in 2010, right? And then the report that I have from CBS or NBC says, he's like, it's not really a formal group because he slipped. So right after he slipped saying it, guess what happened to him? He got fired. And he was replaced a few months later after that slip. And then, then they created a charter and went on the record. So the president of the United States should clearly have people like me, a lot of me's and you, that remember things, can put things together, sitting in a basement somewhere in Camp David so nobody violates us, and just give us really good coffee, a cigarette area, and computers, and we'll just do our thing.
Yeah, I would love to start auditing every department in the government.
Man, we should start with USAID, because we'll be here until dinosaurs come. That one is like, you can't balance that checkbook. Even if you did it, even if you distributed it among the multi-million existing parallel universes and gave like 100. Oh my God, it's the most tangled machine washing. It's money laundering on steroids, basically.
Right.
So this is something that I hope President Trump does. And I said that on Friday. And so weirdly enough, did you see the reports of him trying to make a secret group to like investigate stuff? Did you see that? I was like, yes, it's working.
Oh no, I didn't see that, but get me on that if you can.
Well, I think it was like that President Trump is going to create a group to start investigating something, like his own private group to investigate some fraud stuff. Or I saw it on my Twitter feed, but I went to go get some sun, so I wasn't really paying attention.
Right.
But I saw it and I was like, yes, that's exactly what we need. Independent, non-DC, from the middle of nowhere. I want the redneckiest redneck on it.
Yep.
That's what I need.
Okay, listen, we've been going 2 hours. I do appreciate your time. Would you come back sometime again and talk to me?
Totally. And maybe you can come on my show and talk to me too.
I would do that. Okay. So why don't you tell everybody how they can find you?
So they can find me everywhere, actually, right? You can find me in the airwaves, on Red State Talk Radio. You can find me on ToreSays.com. You can find me on Twitter at Tore_says. I have a Facebook page, Tore Says. I write for other people like Loomered.
Breitbart. Do you write for Breitbart?
Not anymore. Anymore. No. See, this is the thing. You move along after the business changes hands.
Okay.
As always. You can find me almost everywhere. I'm everywhere. So yeah, you can find me on 8kun. Sometimes I still go back to 4chan, just lurking though there. Yeah, and I also have a Subscribe Star, but that's where I put like little tidbits, like stuff that I don't want public, like little audio files that only some people can see about certain topics that have to do with time travel and other projects that you don't say on airwaves, kind of thing.
Right.
And I just want to say, like, listening to your stuff, I love it. We should do a show together, definitely.
Well, thank you. Okay. Well, I want to have you back because I've got a whole page here of stuff that we didn't get to, but I've held you here for 2 hours and I feel bad already. So, I know we're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about going forward. I think it's just going to be coming fast and furious to use a phrase borrowed from Eric Holder and Barry. I call him Barry Satoro. I just can't help it.
Hussein, he's a petri dish boy, by the way. His mom never carried him.
Who is it? Okay, so who's his father?
Who isn't? He was in.
Is it Davis? Was it Davis?
He's different. Like I said, he's different. Okay. Remember, it's kind of like where I studied from. He's different. It's very different. And it's actually quite well documented by his mother, Stanley Ann, who raised him. His mother.
Right.
But just the thing, we could probably hang out here June, July, August, where we're all going to be pulling our hair, where we're going to be thinking they're winning because they're going to be pulling out some really crazy guns. Specifically, July 4th, like we need to start praying. That's all I have to say. Before we hang up here and end this, like, guys, just pray. I don't care what religion you are, pray, because it's getting really scary. They're desperate now. They're clawing.
Right. Yeah, that's been apparent to me for a while that they are desperate. And that's why people don't understand. All I have to do is look at what CNN is saying, and I know I'm comfortable that Trump hasn't flipped sides, right? Because they have been in panic mode since he got elected. They tried to get him, they tried to do the recounts, and then they tried to basically strong arm the Electoral College, and they even took that to the Supreme. Is that now before the Supreme Court? about the Electoral College?
Well, the Supreme Court's not going to touch it because SCOTUS
Well,
is about to get lit. Okay.
oh yeah, and that was one thing. Roberts. Okay. I can't let you go without it. Can you talk? Well, because all right. So we were contacted, and this was probably, I'm going to say 2010 or 2011. And I've told this story before. People have heard this story. We were contacted to put out information on Roberts because we knew they had him compromised. Okay, huge compromise. I mean, because when Bush, put him on the Supreme Court, he got to go right to the head of the class, right? He didn't, because there's like, it's like a frat there at the Supreme Court, right? You're the new guy in, you got to get everybody coffee, you got to work your way up. Well, Roberts, they just put him right at the head of the class. He was the Chief Justice right away, right? So we heard that they had some information on him, that they had him compromised, and they were going to come to us for us to put it out. This was, I believe, 2011. Well, anyway, time passes. What's going on? And we finally hear that Hillary swoops in and buys the information. So I know he's compromised, and I think you've hinted that he was involved in the January 5th meeting. Doesn't surprise me. Can we talk about that? Or
yeah, I mean, I saw it. I mean, I saw the notes from it. Like when I tell people like, oh, because I tweeted out the day that Adam Schiff was talking about how to set up the Ukraine call, I tweeted out a picture of the logo of the phone system they used.
Okay.
In 2019. And I was like, oh, I'm listening to you, Schiff. Better be careful. I was telling them that because this was my new account. They didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
My personal Twitter account was banned the minute I started dropping declassified documents. Twitter shut me down so quick. I couldn't, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just dropping, declassified MOUs that I sourced properly. And it was like, whoop, I was shut down. And I had a couple AGs filed to court telling me not to use the internet. It's like,
oh, wow.
Is America not China yet? But so what happened with Roberts is this BS that she wrote the email to herself and notes like that.
Right.
So there were 2 meetings, and Roberts was actually tapped in to see if the Supreme Court could give advice for being able to annul the elections or delay the inauguration based on information they had.
Uh-huh.
So how they all went crazy in December before even the calls with Kislyak. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
This happened before the calls, because now they're only talking about the unmasking of Flynn.
Right.
We talk about the unmasking of so many people.
Mm-hmm.
So many. Right?
Yeah.
Because they were trying to find anyone they could connect and put in. I mean, look at the people they took to jail. They were all confidants of the president. That's it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
No real crimes. Okay, fine. Manafort did some shady stuff, but he's a lawyer and he worked in DC lobbying for people. Of course he's going to do shady stuff.
Right.
He was working with the Podestas. I mean, come on.
Right.
So
Right.
It's like, so he goes to jail, but Podesta raping kids, eating kids, dressing, doing all these things, no big deal. But anyway, so Roberts actually was in those meetings. And there is confirmation.
Wait. Physically there?
No, like called
by
in.
phone. Okay, by phone. Yeah, okay.
So there is actually confirmation of that. That's going to be huge when it comes out.
Yeah.
Because, I am so surprised that they don't even have the fact that he was there. And the thing is, Fitton, right, from Judicial Watch, he actually has emails after that meeting talking about the next meeting where they were all rushing to do stuff. And that was for Roberts. They were trying to put together the legal documentation to delay the inauguration to allow an investigation. And it's like, gosh. No one's talking. Yeah, but the thing is, I've sent it. Listen, I don't want to upset a lot of your listeners, and I upset mine whenever I say it. But these people that you watch on Fox that you love, right? Except for Tucker. I'm going to name it out. Tucker's awesome. I love Tucker. Like I would be a sister wife for him. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just to be around him. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are big reporters, female and male, that have this information, that has been provided to them because, I don't have any more copies of that because then I could probably be like rounded up by Mueller. So I got rid of those copies.
Right. Right.
I actually sent those copies to them, and none of them reported on it. I was so pissed.
I'm not
Sent them
surprised.
copies. Not only of that, but I sent them, traffic camera footage, like video of Brennan, Strzok, Page, all of them going to the GCHQ headquarters
Mm-hmm.
on jump drives to the studios.
Right.
And I know and none of them did it. And most of them, they get retweeted by the president. The president probably has no idea, and it makes me sick because
Right.
they had all of this and they could have, we wouldn't be here where we are today. I'm just being dead honest. If
Mm-hmm.
the journalists didn't do a disservice to themselves. Because even the ones that you see, like the big names, the female big names, right? The male too,
Yeah.
that are out there. It's like Mark Levin. I'm sorry, I don't know if you like him, but I loathe
I
him.
don't.
I
I
talk
don't.
about him on my radio show all the time. He's such a liar, such a tool, such an opportunist, and he sells, just sells, just period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all these journalists that are supposedly on the Trump team are not. Because if they were, they would have I gave them evidence. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I kind of said, hey, I just know because I'm a timer. I gave them
Mm-hmm.
traffic camera footage, not a still, actual footage from outside of a private coffee shop where they're talking with audio. I sent them crossing the street by the embankment. I sent them documents, that I got rid of the minute I sent it to them. Computer was destroyed too. I was like, I don't need anybody rating me because I don't think I could use the excuse the DNC did say, hold on a second, let me image it for you.
Mm-hmm.
It only works with the DNC. So they did a disservice. And it makes me so sick. Because if ever I went to the White House and he's like, oh, I like that reporter, I'll be like, let me tell you about this reporter. So, no. Liars out. He has nobody. Like even the little we see, Paladin, he has nobody.
Yeah.
They're all lying.
No, I know. It just infuriates me when they talk about the reason the media attacks Trump is because they hate him. No, he's going to get rid of them. He's going to get them all arrested. That's why they don't. Yeah, they may hate him, but that's not why they're after him. They're after him because they're scared they're all going to get put in jail because they're all blackmailed and pedophiles and everything else. That's why they're concerned about it, and he's going to expose all of that. And it just infuriates me. And Hannity just, he's nothing but a cover-up artist for the Bush crime family and always has been. And he just infuriates me too. And Tucker is doing what he can do, and he's really been knocking it out of the park here in the last couple of months.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. And he's actually, stuff that he's gotten, he's reported on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's stuff that he's not going to report on because it's just not his spiel.
Yeah.
But, for people that are supposedly investigative journalists that come on and say, I did this, and everyone jumps whenever they post something.
Right.
What a loser. Like if I was to see them down at the convention, which I'm going to go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we have it, if they don't like coronavirus us in the middle of August.
Right.
Again, 2.0. And, if it's a safety issue for our president too, because we've got Ronna McDaniel, giving a gaping back end hole into, the RNC server, I would say I'd rather the president not go for his safety, right? But
Yeah.
If I was to see them, I'd be like, dude, you're a loser. I totally tell them to their face. I tell them to their face, actually.
Yeah.
They don't do anything for me, and they did nothing. It was a complete disservice. I mean, the only thing is I'm going to ask each and every one of them, why didn't you do it? And I want to see what they say. Because if they say they didn't get it, I know that 2 of the people might have not gotten it because their producers received it, and their producers have been fired since then. Right. So it could have been that those producers put it forward and then they were canned. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the other ones, the ones that are still like, oh, I get all the good interviews and, oh, I tell people the truth and ask hard questions. Right. They got it themselves. Like I got confirmation, like because I had people in there take a picture that they got it. So, yeah, so that's just how Roberts is all over this. We could have stopped this we wouldn't be where we are right now at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was sending letters to President Trump all of 2017.
Mhm.
Like when Rex Tillerson was fired, I had sent the letter Wednesday before he was fired to the president, and I paid like 90 something dollars to get it overnighted. Okay. And in the letter it said, fire Rex Tillerson because he's meeting with the Kenyans. If he tells you he's sick tomorrow and can't have a meeting, fire him. And he was fired that Monday. And he was sick. And I was like, see, my sources panned out.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the Somali sources because I know that stuff really well.
Uh,
The president doesn't get any information from us, Paladin, and it's up to all your lovely listeners and mine to make sure we make so much noise that they can't shut us up.
okay, we'll do that. Okay, Tori, thank you very much for coming on. I know my listeners have enjoyed this 2 hours, and we will definitely get you back again for sure.
Yeah, no, and I totally enjoyed you, and I feel like I was talking more, but that's probably the coffee too.
No, that's the reason that we're interviewing you, so you talk more than me. I just ask the questions. Okay?
I see how that works. No, but I like our banters. That's why. But thank you for having me on. I totally enjoyed it, and I can't wait to come back on with you. And to all your listeners, all I would say is make sure you're not following more people than than you
Right.
can
You
actually
can
see.
keep
Right.
up with, yeah.
Right. Even if you read one tweet a second, like you shouldn't have more than that in a day. And, don't participate in that operation and just be loud and file lawsuits.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Tori, for coming on. I just want to remind everybody tomorrow is Memorial Day, and this is to honor men and women who gave their lives in the military, and they're the ones who gave us our freedom. We're the ones who've got to keep it. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward here. Get active, do something in your community, make a lot of noise on the internet, because we are literally fighting for our lives and our freedoms. And if you haven't figured that out by now, um, you've got to come to that realization, because this is going to be a point in history that's going to define um, the way the United States goes forward, and even the rest of the world. And we have our opportunity, and we may not have another one. So with that, I want to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Weekend, and we'll see you next time. Paladin out.